I actually made a video a couple days ago because I have had people say like, oh, so you're just going to babysit the dog.
Yeah.
Welcome to The Woofy Show, the ultimate dog lover's digest. Meet your hosts, Brian and Magda, two dog lovers ready to help you be the best dog parent, unravel the mysteries of canine behavior, and keep you updated on the latest trends in the dog world. This podcast has something for everyone. Get ready for heartwarming stories, expert advice, and a lot of laughs.
Hello, everybody. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about pet wedding attendants and what that is all about. Today, we're welcoming back a guest we had in the past, Sam. The previous episode, we were talking about muzzles and muzzle advocacy. But today, we're talking about something completely different and unique and really interesting. And I think everyone needs to do this if they're going to be getting married. So welcome back, Sam. If you want to, for the people that maybe didn't get to hear your previous episode, introduce yourself and kind of how you got into the whole wedding pet attendant kind of service.
Perfect. So thanks so much for having us back. We're so excited. So I'm a certified dog trainer through the Victoria Stillwell Dog Training Academy. And I have a, like we mentioned, passion for muzzle training, but that's not what we're talking about today. Yep. So we are the first local Calgary pet wedding attendant service. So we absolutely love what we do. I mean, what could be better than dogs and weddings? As you can see, weddings are so much better with your dogs.
That's 100% true. If we had our dog before we got married, we would have loved that service.
Of course. Yeah. It's the best service.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are the only one in Calgary who does it professionally. And yeah, we absolutely love it.
Excellent. So what made you kind of like, how did you find out about the demand for this? If I'm assuming there's a demand, hence why you started the business, but how did you come about wanting to do this? And how did you kind of decide or find out that's what people wanted?
So before COVID, I had one of my clients who we did pet sitting for approach me and say, hey, like we've seen this type of service in the States. We've seen it a couple other places, but we have never seen it in Calgary. So we were wondering if you would ever be interested in helping at our wedding, helping kind of navigate the kind of different things that happen at a wedding, the different stresses and stuff like that on the pet, and how we could make it a reality. So fast forward, unfortunately, they had to reschedule their wedding due to COVID. And I had another client who right at the end of COVID was getting married. They wanted their dog involved. Super stressed out because they were like, our dog is crazy and wild. We don't know what to do, but we want pictures with them. I said, hey, like I've had this idea pitched to me before. I think it's a fantastic service. Your dog is already comfortable with me. Why don't we give it a go? It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like the owners were because I am a trainer, I was able to like very well skilled in dog body language, like knowing the cues when they're starting to get a bit heightened, uncomfortable, when there potentially might be a reaction so we can redirect. Mm-hmm. But seeing how happy the owners were at the wedding to have their dog there. Yeah. Like they saw their parents, they saw the guests, and they were super excited. But the way their world completely lit up when they saw their dog come down the aisle was just life-changing for me.
Well, it's like you mentioned in your previous episode, and we have a lot as pets are kids now. People's dogs are their kids. So
they're everything.
It's, it's probably no different than someone having the little flower girl coming down, and it's the same kind of how you would think and how you would see your dog. So
exactly. And it is very much like that now. Yep. I have had numerous clients. We've actually done over 100 weddings.
Wow.
Yeah. In the last 3 seasons, I have really good relationships with a lot of the wedding coordinators in the city, as well as we're preferred vendor with numerous venues, not only in like Calgary, but Banff, Canmore, even one in BC as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we have absolutely fallen in love with this service, and it, like my summertime is like the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So I guess for people that don't know, what exactly does a pet like wedding attendant do? So like what do you do with the dog?
For sure. So we're a completely customizable service, which means pretty much anything that the owner and the pup need, we're able to accommodate. So we have had some owners who say, you know what, like I know my dog, they're not going to be able to walk down the aisle and like stay at the front with me. But we still want kind of pictures of them walking down the aisle. What are our options?
Okay.
So the pet wedding attendant, we take care of all of your pet's needs throughout the entire day. So whether that be transportation to and from the venue, proper enrichment, like at the venue. So being a trainer, there's lots of different kind of techniques and tools that you can use. Like we play like the up down game, engagement, disengagement, lots of different things to keep the pups busy.
Yes.
Keep them engaged with you instead of being like, where's my mom and dad?
That's true. You don't want them running down the aisle really excited because they haven't seen them in like 6 hours.
Exactly.
Like that.
And we'll bring them, like we always bring them, if they are wanting them to walk down the aisle, we'll bring them to the venue probably about an hour beforehand. And we actually do a practice run down the aisle. So we'll do everything from like, we just let them sniff, get used to the environment, get them comfortable with like different people walking by and making sure that they are as comfortable as possible. And also we are your dog's biggest advocate for the day. So knowing when potentially they've had too much, like I've had it where we're going and we're doing pictures and the owners, of course, they get caught up in the day. They're super excited, want their dog to be a part of every aspect, which is absolutely fantastic. But knowing the stress signs of dogs and when you can just tell when a dog has had too much.
Yes.
And they need a break. And so that is our job as the pet wedding attendants to advocate and say, hey, you know what? Like I'm starting to notice Fido is like kind of feeling a little stressed. What would you think about maybe doing like 1 or 2 more pictures and then maybe we can take a break and revisit? Or a lot of the times the owners would be like, thank you so much for letting me know. We got enough. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I guess, they don't know and they just want them because there's a lot of pictures that happen at weddings and
exactly
the dogs don't always have to be in all of them. And so, do you have any like kind of, because you've said you've done over 100 weddings. So do you have any like specific memorable experiences or stories of like one specific thing you can tell that was just like, the best thing ever for the clients or something that just like went above expectations of what they thought and like how it, changed their wedding for the better.
Of course. So I think in all honesty, I think one of the biggest memories that I have is actually the dogs who have now passed away, who were at their owners' weddings.
Wow.
And seeing...
I just had like the chills. When you said that, I'm not going to lie, like just my whole body went because that is so meaningful to have those memories.
And we've been doing it for 3 seasons now. And of course, as we know, like the inevitable sometimes happens, but having those pictures and those videos, because we do behind the scenes stuff, we take like videos of the dog throughout the day, and seeing the owners share those pictures when the pup has passed and say like, this is one of the happiest days of our lives. And we're sharing this, like it makes me emotional as well because we were able to help make that a reality. And I think that is one of the biggest, as like sad as it is to talk about, having your pet at your wedding and having those photos and those memories created for when they have passed, I think is such an important thing to touch on.
Well, and you have them together. Like everyone has hundreds, if not thousands of pictures of just their dogs or just their pets, but to have them together and like you said, in such an important day as well. Yeah. Because
they are like, pets, as much as a like tagline as people use it, like we treat your pets like family. And when something like that does happen, it is hard on everybody. And we remember those days and the happy memories and the times where like we had one of my most recent clients who we had a wedding with last year, who just recently passed. We still talk about the time where he almost took my mom down the aisle. My mom was helping me out and his owner called him from the front of the aisle and he's a big boy and he almost took my mom down the aisle. Like it was, and we still talk about it and joke and like those happy memories that come up. So
that's amazing. Yeah, that's me. Because everyone obviously has happy memories of their weddings, but to include their pets,
it adds that extra layer. And knowing that they're well taken care of throughout the day, knowing that their needs are being met and they still get to be a part of that day. And like a family member doesn't need to help out. Like I've had people who say, oh, that'd be a great service, but like, I'll just get my mom to do it or I'll get my cousin, and the cousin or the mom is standing next to them. They're like, let me take your card, please. Because we don't want to spend the wedding day.
Because they're there to enjoy the wedding as well.
Exactly.
So that's amazing. So what factors would people like that potentially want to, use this service? What should they consider for for wanting to have like their pet at their wedding? What things should they know?
So one of the biggest things that I always start with is your venue pet friendly?
I guess so. I mean, a lot of outdoor places could be, but yeah, there's a lot of people get married inside.
So there's always the option for us. Like we've had couples who contact us and say, hey, like our venue isn't pet friendly, but we still want pictures. Like what are our options? So what I usually suggest is I'll bring we take care of your pet for the day, make sure all their needs are met. They have like the best, we call them VIPs, so very important pets. So they have like the VIP experience.
Yeah.
And they are the star of the show. Like that's their day. They're the most important to us, the most important thing. Yeah. So we will bring them to the venue. And they can take pictures outside of the venue.
Okay.
So a lot of like places like Calgary Zoo, Heritage Park, they don't allow pets on site for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But we've had owners be able to come out of the venue and take pictures with their pets.
Yeah.
Again, a huge memory for them, being able to have those photos and things like that after their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else they should like think about other than the pet friendly venue?
Of
Is
course.
it like whether their dog can handle it? I guess if they're not like to be around hundreds of people, I don't know, dozens, depending how big the wedding is.
Depending how big.
Yeah.
It's always a consideration that we talk about. So definitely things to consider when, again, the pet friendly venue is how is your dog? Like, do they like other people? Do they like other dogs? Things to consider, like, are they okay off leash? Are they okay on leash? We've had some people say like, oh, like we'll just let our dog run down the aisle off leash. And I'm like, okay, but how are they off leash? Right?
I don't think our dog could do that, to be honest. Yeah.
Right? It's always like, it would be like an amazing idea.
Yeah.
But in reality, when there's 50, 60 people staring at your dog, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And so thinking about, yes, that would be absolutely amazing to be able to do that, but always going back to how can we meet your dog's needs and their comfort level to make it a stress-free environment for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's a crazy experience to have with them. So how would you, say they everything's good, they can, their wedding venue's pet friendly. How do you help like couples prepare like on the day or the day before so then they can have that experience with their pets? So
we always do a complimentary meet and greet.
Yeah.
I think that is super important to be able to not only meet the dog beforehand, but so that you know who, like as the guardian, who was taking care of your dog throughout the day. You want to be able to have a relationship with that person and a good rapport. And I always say you need to meet us first to make sure you feel comfortable and your pet feels comfortable. Personally, I've never had anybody who after a meet and greet, they've been like, no, we're not going to do it. But I like to give people the option just in case. But I'm trying to go back to the question. Yeah,
it's like, how do you help them prepare? Like as in, on the day, like, or.
For sure. So after we do the meet and greet and everything, I always get the photographer's information as well as the venue.
Okay. If they have,
if they have a wedding coordinator as well. So we communicate with their whole team beforehand to make sure that the day goes as seamless as possible. Because I noticed when we first started doing this that a lot of the time I'd show up with the dog and the photographer is like, oh, there's a dog here.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask was like, do the photographers know? Because maybe they like are terrified of dogs or something like that. And it's, so for them to be prepared. So that's good to hear. So.
Yeah, we always do. We want to try to make the day as seamless as possible for everybody involved.
It's a stressful day. Busy day. It's hectic. Yeah.
Insane. I had no idea until I started working in weddings how crazy it is and how much work truly goes into it. Like, hats off to the photographers and wedding coordinators and everyone.
I've done wedding photography in the past. It's
a lot.
It's a lot. So, but that's just me. I don't have to worry about dogs. So there you go. Well,
and that's the thing, right? Like the last thing you love dogs, obviously you're doing this, but like you need to focus on your job. And the venues that we've been to and the people who we've worked with have been like, you have made our lives like 1,000 times easier. Yeah. Because they don't have to worry about like who's taking care of the dog. Has the dog pooped on at the venue and nobody picked it up? Yeah. Like is the dog running around and destroying things? Like you don't have to worry about that as a venue or like a photographer or anything when you have a service like this.
So is there any sort of like certain training that a dog would need, or for them to be prepared for it? Like, would they need obviously like basic obedience skills so then they're easier to work with, or does that not matter?
So the only thing that I ask is that owners are always honest with us about their dog's behavior. So there's definitely no like prerequisites.
Yeah.
But again, I'll always advocate for the dog's needs and say, hey, like if your dog is super uncomfortable around people, why don't we go to a separate space and take pictures where it's just you, your dog, and the photographer versus the entire wedding party. You definitely don't need like basic obedience or anything, as long as you're aware of that.
Yeah.
So that like we can have, like some owners want the dog to just sit stay, right? Some dogs can do that. Some, when they're too excited, they can't. So what I always suggest is like, well, why don't we do walking photos? So like you're walking towards the photographer as well as me. I'm getting your dog's attention. You guys just focus on what the photographer needs you to do. And that way your dog is looking at the camera. You don't have to stress about it. Because trying to make your dog do a sit stay.
Well, and look at the camera too.
It's hard.
Oh, yeah, it is
like,
hard.
I sound like the craziest person because I bring squeakies. I have my voice, right? I am like the loudest person.
Yeah.
But the photographers afterwards are like, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well,
like,
they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's pet photographers too. And they can probably relate a lot more about getting their
Exactly.
attention.
Yeah.
But then getting their attention and not distracting the couple as well. Like it's not just the dog
Exactly.
or whatever. It's like, okay, I can't be in the way of everything else going on. So,
and usually we get a couple like super funny smiles and stuff like that from owners because they're like, this is the best day ever. Like they're just having a blast, and that's what it's about, right? Like weddings are stressful enough. You don't need to add that extra layer of stress to an owner's life.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any, from your experience, any like creative ways people have like incorporated their dogs other than just photos?
So we do literally anything and everything.
Okay.
So I've had people like have their dogs in the like getting ready photos from like the very beginning, which is super cute because they'll have like separate outfits for their dog for the morning and then like the ceremony and then potentially afterwards. But yeah, anything from walking down the aisle, we do getting ready photos. We'll do, like I mentioned, like I do like behind the scenes photos and stuff like that as well. So it's the whole VIP experience.
So it's pretty much just up to the couple's imagination.
Exactly. And like I've had owners who like MacGyver different ways for their dog to carry down rings, which is super awesome. Always makes me a little nervous because I'm like, if that dog shakes the wrong way, those wedding rings are like...
Or runs off and depending on where you are, it's like, if it was our dog and there was a river, she'd be in the river with the rings. It'd be gone forever.
Yeah. And that's like... We always have that conversation before being like, okay, like what's a realistic expectation? Yeah. So like your dog has no recall, potentially we shouldn't let them off leash, right? Unless it's like an enclosed environment where, and you're okay with whatever happens.
Yeah. So that's actually a good way to kind of go into the next question. So how do you deal with any like unexpected issues or something arises that, like, for example, they're supposed to have recall and they don't, and they run off and, So I
think the number one thing is you kind of just roll with it.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, weddings are stressful enough. And I always am more on the side of prevention versus reaction. Yep. So if I did have one instance where we were at a golf course and the owners were like, yes, my dog has great recall, which they did, but you add in a different environment, different smells and stuff. And the dog decided to go run off into the golf course. So I know the dog's going to come back. I'm not going to panic. I told the owners, I'm like, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Like, don't stress. And we got the dog and just waited for photos. Like, it wasn't a big deal. It's not like again, if the dog didn't have recall, they wouldn't have been allowed off.
Of course.
So knowing that, keeping everybody else calm, but also it was kind of more of a funny situation where like they were all like, of course our dog did that.
Yeah. Would you ever just like continue, say they wanted the dog to walk down the aisle and they just weren't having it, would you just, because like you said, you're more focused on the dog. And if they're not comfortable, would you just tell them, hey, we're just going to carry on as normal without the dog for this part? Yeah.
So what I've done in the past is like sometimes owners will be like, hey, just drop the leash and see if they'll walk to us. I try to stay out of the frame for like photos. Yeah. But in the event that a dog is starting to walk down the aisle, they're super uncomfortable, I've already talked with the owners about it. I say like, if things go south, there's always plan B. So what I'll do is I'll pick up the leash and I'll like coax the dog down. Or if they're super uncomfortable, we just turn around and walk the other way.
Yeah.
Like it's the owners and I have already had these conversations of like planning, like here's plan A, B, C, D, E. We'll start with A. If things don't go well, we'll reevaluate. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a make or break. It's like, stop the wedding until we get this ready to back in track.
It's super interesting, like in that aspect, right? Because, it's a wedding. Like everyone is like usually super serious, either like crying or laughing, right? Like, and different owners have different expectations. So you can generally kind of go with it and see. I've never had a wedding where things have gone absolutely terribly wrong, right? Because we plan for things. We have kind of contingency plans and like, it's all about meeting the dog's needs. And if they're uncomfortable, we just reevaluate.
Yeah. So what about, have you had any concerns or issues, or how would you deal with it with like the guests? So not the wedding party. Is that your responsibility as well? Or do the couple let all the guests know, hey, our dog's being in this, just heads up?
Yeah. So it depends on the owners. I've had a couple who have like surprised guests with their dogs.
Okay.
And they're super excited to see them, of course.
Yeah.
And I've also had other owners who have like told their guests in advance, hey, our dogs are going to be there, but they're uncomfortable around strangers. So please don't approach. So it's my job as their advocate to know those things from the owners and say, hey, like if someone's coming up and say, oh, hey, like so-and-so just needs some space. An example of this was we had a wedding where kids were invited, but the dogs were not comfortable with kids.
Oh, okay.
So of course a kid sees a dog and they want to run up and say hi. One of the biggest things for me is actively creating that space and saying, hey, mom and dad, like the parent or like whoever of the child, saying, hey, like so-and-so, like Fido just needs some space. Would you mind if we like don't pet Fido today? Again, if they don't listen, like my immediate thing is we just make space. We just move away, give the dogs the opportunity to decompress, make sure they're feeling safe and comfortable, because we don't need any bites. We don't need any reactions, right? Like that's the last thing anybody wants to deal with. So always advocating, and I'll put myself in between the child and the dog and say, hey, like we're not going to pet Fido today.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. And then are there any other like special considerations for like other events, or like, say the reception afterwards, or even before that? I know a lot of people like to do like engagement style photos and like that, just kind of other things other than specifically the wedding ceremony. Yeah.
So we help out with pretty much, again, completely customizable. So we do engagement shoots. We do, we can do wedding rehearsals. We do overnight care as well. So say you're going to be like, you're not going to be.
It's a late night.
Yes. Exactly. Right. And the last thing you want to worry about is who's going to let the dog out.
Yes. So
we take care of all of that. No concerns at all there.
Sounds like a long day.
It can be. Yeah. It can be a long day, but we absolutely love what we do. And it is quite different than some random person coming and taking care of your dog.
Of course.
We are, like myself being a certified trainer, my entire team is well versed in dog body language. They're very well versed in knowing like when a dog has had enough and they need a break. We each have a little kit that we bring with us to make sure that we are prepared for pretty much any situation, as well as my entire team is pet first aid certified. So say anything was to go wrong or happen, like we're prepared for every situation. And
so on that, this is now just more of a random question, but has anyone had their dog in like the cutting the cake portion? Because I think that would be really funny.
That would be super cute.
I don't know. Like that was just because when you were talking about different things you can help with, I would have loved to see like a dog just biting in the cake, but that's what they planned. I don't know if that's happened, but
we haven't had that.
I should encourage people to do that.
We should. Most venues say like when food comes out, the dogs have to go.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
But if you were to do like a private ceremony, I definitely would recommend it. That
or
would
just
be
like a mock kind of thing, or just like a dog friendly, like a dog cake.
Dog friendly cake.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
That'd be amazing.
So other than like the initial meet and greet, so how, like when you work with your clients and the couples on like, what they want, is it just like a one sit down session Zoom? Like, is it over multiple days? Like how is it the day, you know, how far in advance? I guess it depends on them, but like,
Of course.
how do you work with them to customize it? It's just kind of one big long day.
So it's totally dependent on the owners. So if their dogs are a little more shy or a little more reserved and need extra meet and greets, extra walks, we definitely accommodate that.
Yep.
Like we've had owners who are like, hey, we want our dog to be at the wedding, but they're like more shy, not like aggressive, fearful, but more shy.
Yeah.
Can we have like 2 or 3 meet and greets? And we certainly can accommodate that. We've also had owners who are like coming from the States who come and get married here. So we don't necessarily have the opportunity to do a face-to-face meet and greet, but we'll do a Zoom call, work with the team. And then if they happen to be in Calgary a couple of days earlier, we'll do the meet and greet then.
Okay.
If not, then there's only so much you can do.
Well, that's good that they don't have to be local and it doesn't have to be done 6 months in advance kind of thing.
Exactly. No,
Okay.
I try to do the meet and greets, like 1 to 2 months beforehand.
Okay. Well, so they, like you said, so they can decide whether they want to go ahead with this.
And we'll always have conversations. Like I'm not the type of, like, I know some people have like, okay, you're only allowed to message me like once a week.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, here's my cell number. Like call me anytime. Want to make sure that everything is literally like picture perfect for your wedding.
Yeah.
And like, if that means that you need to message me a couple times a week, or you need to like have a couple different phone calls to like hammer out exactly what you need for your VIP package, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like I am super open to that. I want to make sure that you feel as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how do you educate them on like the, you know, obviously the benefits or even the challenges of having the dogs? Do you base it off of like past experiences, or like, you know, how do you kind of, like teach them about like, okay, this is what could happen. This is what will hopefully happen.
Yeah. Majorly base it off of previous experiences, but also going based on their dog.
Yes.
So saying like, hey, I know you mentioned that your dog is fearful of people or uncomfortable around strangers. Or the complete opposite spectrum of like, they are so excited to see people that they're going to jump all over them. How can we work with your dog to make sure that they are as comfortable, safe, happy on that wedding day?
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like for that dog. It might mean, no, we can't have them walk down the aisle because they just know it's not going to go well. And we'll meet for pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
Or like I had one client a couple months ago who we did, was in the wedding party and everything like that. And then it was time to take pictures and the dog was just going crazy. So I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm going to advocate for him right now. Is there any way that we can take pictures away from everybody else?
Yeah.
So, and that's what we did. And the pictures turned out fantastic.
Do you ever like recommend like training for their dog to get them ready for the day if they, you know, you do meet them a couple months in advance?
And we can certainly do that. Like with me being a certified trainer, it is the added benefit of having someone who actually knows.
For example, like a dog is constantly jumping up on people, and it's cute at home, but it's like, okay, but he needs to, or she needs to behave a little bit at wedding day.
Would
you like kind of recommend being like, hey, this is something, you know, you should work on just to make the day go better?
Yeah. And I am always I let the owners know, like we can work on this if you'd like, but if you're okay with it, like,
well, yeah, sure, yeah. Your wedding, your dog.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. Yes.
Right. I'm like, I'm never gonna like go and be like, oh, your dog is so like poorly behaved. Right. It's whatever the owners kind of like, if this is how their dog is and they're comfortable with that, as long as the dog isn't causing like harm to themselves or anybody else.
Yeah.
Like we can work with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are there any like misconceptions that having your dog at a wedding that you want to kind of talk about or will come up?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions of like the job that we do is that we just babysit your dog.
Okay. Well, yes. So it's funny when we were talking before this, Magda and I were talking and we were trying to summarize. I was like, oh, so they're kind of just like a dog babysitter. And I think you said, I don't like when people call me that. And I didn't know you said that to her. So, but I was like, that's just how I understand it.
But
so
that's what people see,
you're right? Okay. So
it's like, and it's totally okay when people do that because it is part of what we do, right? We take care of the pet throughout the day, but it's not all we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So explain that to me. So now that's what I thought. So prove me wrong and say, okay, well, we also do
Of course. So I actually made a video a couple days ago because I have had people say like, oh, so you're just going to babysit the dog.
Yeah.
And so the video, I touched on different things like we're the dog's safe space. So we advocate for their needs. Like we are the ones who help create the memories. We get those picture perfect moments with your photographer. Yeah. We work with them instead of against them.
Okay.
We make sure that we take your dog to like on adventures so that they're both mentally, physically enriched. So that the day isn't going to be like, they're not going to be full of energy. Yeah. They're going to have all of their needs met. They're going to have potty breaks. They're going to have water. They're going to have food. They're going to have everything taken care of. And you're going to get those like picture perfect moments with your dog. Okay. So many other things as well that we do that basically all comes down to meeting those dogs' needs. And I mean, if you want to call it a babysitter, we can call it that. So, yeah. But it's so much more than that in the sense of like, we do help create those memories.
That's what they think until they work with you. And then they realize, then they kind of aha moment be like, oh, I was so wrong.
And it's like, it's interesting seeing people because most of the time we go in and we do kind of the work with them. They're like, my dog has never behaved better. Yeah. I was like, because we met all their needs and we made sure that they felt safe and comfortable and engaged. Yeah. And it's a pretty awesome feeling when an owner says like, our dog has never behaved better. And we're so happy we hired you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where's this video posted? Like on your socials?
Yeah, okay. I have it on my Instagram.
Okay, we'll share it in the description or in the notes, just so then they can get that summary directly from you as well. Of course.
So. Yeah, it's on our Instagram and our TikTok as well.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. That was a lot of information. That was a kind of a whole service that I myself, and I bet you tons of people listening, never heard about, or maybe you did and you wanted to learn a little bit more about it. Is there anything kind of you want to add or that things people should know when they are looking for this kind of service? Like if they're not in Calgary, obviously, because you're the only one in this local area, say they are in the US or they're somewhere else in the country, what is something maybe they should like look for?
For sure.
From your experience.
Of course. So there's quite a few different companies who do it, of course, worldwide. We're not the only one who does this by any means. But you want to ensure that they are focused on meeting your dog's needs first. Okay. And that they are going to advocate for your dog. So the wedding days are super stressful, as we all know. You want to make sure that it is as seamless as possible. A meet and greet beforehand, a free meet and greet preferably, to give you the option. There's nothing worse than paying for a meet and greet and it not going well. And then you feel like you're stuck with this person.
Yes.
For me, that's a huge red flag when people don't offer free meet and greets.
I guess if you believe in your service so well, like why would you? Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's like, and I've had it at times where I've been burned by clients before where we do a meet and greet and we do everything, we plan it. And then a month before their wedding, they decide not to use us. And that's on me. That's just what happens. Yeah. But, I think that's a huge thing for owners. Be prepared to pay mileage. Okay. Some packages will include mileage, but if we are traveling, like say to Banff or Canmore or something like that.
If you're the one driving their dog too.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like you're just going to show up there and you're waiting. Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, like it's just like any service that anybody during the wedding is going to provide, right? Photographer, videographer, wedding coordinator. And also if like we will travel all over the world. Like I'll travel anywhere. Travel is generally paid for by the owners.
Yes. It's just the same as photography and
exactly.
Video. They travel all over the world to work with their clients. So.
Of course. And I have also had people say like, you want me to pay that much for a service?
Okay.
And I think it's very important to realize that like our services are not just like picking up your dog, bringing them to the wedding and leaving.
Yes.
Like all of the work and training and stuff that we put in, like at the venue, at the event, the coordination that we do, not only with the owners, but also their entire team. Yeah. We don't just work on the day, right? It's just like photographers, right? So I think that's a super important aspect to consider as well as, sometimes you say like you pay what you get what you pay for.
Yes, of course.
And as a professional service, I think it's very important for people to realize that you should be able to, there's a lot of value in the service that,
You're not just a babysitter for their
exactly,
dog.
Right?
There we go. Full circle.
Full circle.
That's awesome. Okay. So I guess that's kind of it. We just wanted to do a quick summary of that service, more to educate people on it. So just like the previous episode, where can they find out about you and your service? And if they wanted to hire you, how can they get in touch with you? So if you want to share that.
So Instagram and Facebook is Suns Out, Paws Out, YYC.
Okay.
And then we're also on TikTok under the same kind of username. And then our website is linked in our link tree on our Instagram.
Okay.
And you can also find it on our Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. That's it. There's anything else you want to add?
I don't think
to
so.
that one. I think you explained it quite well, so that's really good.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. No. Thank you for joining us again, and I'm sure we'll find a third topic to talk to you about.
Course,
you know a lot, so we might be seeing Sam on the podcast again in the future. But
we would love to anytime for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here again today, and we look forward to kind of seeing your business grow and succeed, and hopefully hearing from you again. So
perfect. Thank you so much for the support.
Thanks for everyone for watching or listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. If you have any questions, you know where to find Sam, or you can leave a comment below and we can kind of forward that on to her if you are interested. Definitely, if you have a dog and you're getting married, you should think about that, because as I mentioned, I wish we did, but
you won't regret it.
Yeah. So thanks again everyone for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode.